Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Rabbi.
How are you, Frank?
Baruch Hashem, well, thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi.
Family well?
Yes, all well, thank you.
Good. Who else with us? Oh, Brian and Glenda with us, Stephen with us. Who else with us? Dr. Les with us, Jeffrey with us. No, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, very good. Hilton with us. Baruch Rofeh Holim. To everyone, good. Everyone well.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Dr. Les, give us the good news. Dr. Les.
Okay, so I'll tell you some interesting things, Rob. I was in Bnei Brak on Tuesday to see my accountant, and along the way, going via Ramat Gan, I saw the most amazing thing: a 4-story building with a billboard, a massive color billboard about the protests. That there's going to be a Hafganah protest, and it made me think: who's paying for this billboard, which must cost millions? Who's paying for all these organizations that are there, all these protests? And it's a good question. Who's mamash paying for it? Because millions of shekels are being paid to organize these protests. And then came the news. I don't know if you heard it in South Africa. Macron from France, the president of France, he passed him personally, without going through the parliament, passed a bill that went through that they've changed the year of retirement from 62 to 64. And a president has the power in France to decide on a decision, and he has the power to pass the law without any, you didn't need the parliamentary approval or judges' approval. And this impacts on so many people that they won't be getting their pensions. They have to wait 2 more years. So there's a lot of protests going on in France, but nobody's questioning the judicial system in France, or how can the president make a decision and then implement it by himself. So what's happening in Israel, just because it's so confusing, and even if you read the South African Jewish report, it's not so simple, because the judicial here isn't so democratically elected. But I want to end with some very, and it's just something to think about. The reform has to be done. So today in Beit Vegan, where I live, Derry, he's actually moved from Hanover to Beit Vegan temporarily. And a lot of, it's mainly, but not completely, but very, very left-wing supporters came to his house to protest. And he lives near Wilson Yeshiva. And the boys from the Wilson Yeshiva came out of the yeshiva and they danced around. So their protest was like abandoned because they were all dancing around, so you couldn't hear the protest. So that was a positive thing. That's taking something negative and making it very, very positive. So when you see the news broadcasts and you see there's a lot of sheker going on, a lot of misinformation, and we just hope that things that there will be some type of compromise. But it's not as clear-cut as newspapers and as even experts make it out to be. So that's the news from Israel. So we just want to wish you all a Chodesh Tov and a Chag Sameach and a Chodesh Tov. That Nisan, the beginning, Rav, and you're going to be speaking. It's the beginning. So Bezrat Hashem, we should all have It's also they discuss is that the New Year is also from Nisan as well. So we should all have like a good Pesach and a good Chodesh Tov to everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shukra. Dr. Les, thank you very much for the update. Rabotai, after the beautiful update of Dr. Les, we're going to start with the show. We're going to start this Shabbos, a new book that's called Sefer Vayikra, the 3rd book from the 5 books of Moses. Sefer Vayikra, also called Sefer Karbanot, the book of the sacrifices, because it speaks mainly about the Mishkan and the Karbanot, more about the Karbanot than anything else. So without any more talking, let's start the shiur. I would like to delegate the shiur in honor of Esther Kaden Bat Ketzia, Mordechai Ben Rachma, Arav Avraham Chaim Ben Eliezer Yaakov, Tamar Bat Zehava, Yaakov Salomon Ben Fahad, Dvorah Ruth Bat Beila, Shosha Blima Bat Mordechai Betzalel, Miriam Bat Moshe, Malka Regina Bat Joya, Keti Gurgia Bat Farha, Nishmatam Tiet Tzrura B'tzur HaChaim. Also in health of Leora Bat Miriam, Menashe Naji Ben Farha, Harav Avraham Ben Marim, Harav Shlomo Yehuda Ben Dalia, Harav Moshe Ben Devorah, Harav Moshe Ben Bahia Batia, Dvorah Bat Esther, Haya Miriam Bat Rachel, Orna Bluma Bat Miriam, Sheina Keila Bat Hana, Mordechai David Ben Leah. Who else? We have Tzvi Ben Hava, Baruch Ben Sarah, Haim, Nahum Ben Tzvi Kohen, Shmuel Meir Ben Shosha Blima, Miriam Bat Zelda Liba, Moshe Avram Ben Henariva, Yehudit Bat Rika, Haya Tzipora Bat Rachel, Ayala Eden Bat Rivka, Vetova Liba Bat Rachel, Vishar Kol Hole Amo בית ישראל בכל מקום שהם, also להצלחת החברים. אוקיי, ספר ויקרא. ויקרא אל משה, וידבר אדוני אל משה, מאוהל מועד לאמור. ג'פרי, בכבוד. Jeffrey, you are muted. Jeffrey, you are muted. If you unmute yourself, please.
Hi, sorry, Rob.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, I just missed it. It went quiet on my side for a second. Could you just repeat that so I could?
Just repeat, because we didn't hear you, because you wasn't online. You was on mute. So if you can just
The first
read
verse.
in English.
He called to Moses, and Hashem spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying.
Okay, if you look at the word Vayikra, the first word that we have in Sefer Vayikra, it's in Chumash, in a Sefer Torah. You'll see that the letters Aleph in the end of the word Vayikra is very small. We spoke about it a number of times, and we have to understand why is the letters Aleph very small. One is why Dafka on Vayikra. And we have to understand something very important about that. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu given Moshe Rabbeinu ink to write the Sefer Torah, given him specifically amount of ink that's going to be enough to write all the words that there is in the Torah. And here we see something very interesting. The letters Aleph is very small. That means that the half of the ink of the big letters Aleph now become a half, because Moshe used only a half. Why? Because he used a little Aleph. How come? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu decide to make the Aleph Ze'ira, very little? That's the question of the Mefarshim. And we have to answer that. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll start with that. So Hazal says something very important. Hazal say that the main reason that the Aleph is small, it's to tell you that Moshe Rabbeinu was very humble. And he didn't want people to say, listen, Vayikra el Moshe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Moshe. So what did he do? He done like this. He first of all make the word Vayikra very small. Why did he make it very small? The Mefarshim explain, because he didn't want people to think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you see, speaking directly to Moshe, calling him, Moshe is very famous. So that's why he put the letters Aleph small. But we have to understand what's hiding behind it. So he says something very, very interesting. We all know that the word Vav, Vayikra, it should say, Yikra el Moshe. No, it's a Vayikra. So Hazal tell us, wherever the letters Vav coming at the beginning of the word, it's come to add up. Where do we learn that? Ve'elu ha'mishpatim, and those are the law. Rashi there say, ba leosif. Ma ba leosif? What is it came to add up? Vayikra el Moshe. We have to understand that. So the Mefarshim explain something very important. The Mefarshim say that one have to do with each other. The Vav and the Aleph have to do with each other. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the letters Aleph that if you look from far, the word will look like Vayikra, not Vayikra, because Moshe was humble. The Vav come to teach us something very important, said the Mefarshim. It's come to teach us that here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu come to tell Moshe Rabbeinu that you're going to explain the children of Israel, the Kohanim, the children of Israel, the law of Torat Kohanim, because the book of Sefer Vayikra called also Torat Kohanim, like we explained that it's called Sefer Karbanot, Torat Kohanim, all the law of the Korban, all the law that the Kohanim have to know. It's come to tell you very important. Vayikra, when you're going to speak to them, you have to understand that you have to do something very important. It's not enough just to explain to them. The Vav HaHibur come to tell you that you have to repeat and explain the children of Israel and the Kohanim the law of the Karbanot. That means you're going to tell them now the Karbanot. But if you're not going to repeat it, they're going to forget about it. What does that have to do with humbleness? Because people that humble, they're not arrogant. People that humble is not arrogant. So he's saying to himself, listen, if I need to do something, I need to repeat and read the law again. He doesn't trust himself. He's not arrogant about it. I know the law. I don't have to read about it. Every good lawyer, every good accountant always check. Every good doctor, everything, always check the books before he put something in writing. So it's come to tell you that here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you're humble. But the Vav HaHibur come to teach that people will learn from you. The same like you're humble, they also have to repeat their study. What does it mean? The Torah, number one, come to teach us something very important. And Hazal say that people that usually want respect and honor, people don't respect them. הכבוד בורח מהם. הרודף אחר הכבוד, הכבוד בורח ממנו. Hazal said. What does it come to tell us? Come to tell us something very important. That if you want respect and you want honor, number one, you have to be humble. Number two, and the most important, that when you repeat everything and you know what you're saying, that means your law, your halachot, whatever the case is, people will respect you. Why? Because listen, I need to check, I'm not sure. Nothing wrong with saying I need to check. But when a person says, no, I know it. I know it all. That means by that he say I know it all, he doesn't know nothing, Hazal say. So the Vav come to tell you that number one, it's not enough to learn one time. You all the time have to repeat and check on yourself. Number two, the Aleph come to show you that when you're humble, you don't trust yourself. That means that you repeat and you check everything. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu tried to teach us here, said the Mefarshim. If you look what it said later on, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe me'oel mo'ed le'emor, to say. Why does it say le'emor? Okay? Because it says, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe me'oel mo'ed, from the tent of meeting. The Almighty spoke already to Moshe from the tent of meeting. To say what? Vayikra el Moshe Vaydaber. He called them and he spoke. And now it says le'emor. Why does it say le'emor? Rabotai, I saw beautiful, beautiful, beautiful idea that the Mefarshim say. The Mefarshim say that the word le'emor, here the Torah come to teach us a very important principle. When a person go to a shul, when a person go to someone to visit him, you know, for Shabbos meal or something, it's come to tell you that a person have to be asked to speak, and he mustn't speak without a permission. That's mean le'emor, that the owner of the house, Baal Habayit, must say to the guest, speak. You want to talk, you want to give us a Dvar Torah, speak. We're not talking about talking one to each other. It's mean that the Baal Habayit, or the Rebbe of the congregation, the Rebbe of the shul, whatever the case is, wherever you go, you have to get the permission of the owner, the Baal Habayit. Why? Chazal tell us something very important. Chazal say, "Ve'ata tedaber el kol chachmei lev." You should speak to every smart person. What does it mean you should speak to every smart person? Chazal in the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, in page 12, folio 2, tell us Hediot kofetz barosh, referring to Haman. Because Haman, they call him Memuchan. Memuchan, he was the first one when King Ahasuerus asked what to do with Vashti. All the advisors, he asked the Jews, he asked all of his people. They didn't want to give him an answer. They say, whatever answer we're going to give him, it's going to be the wrong one. If we tell him to punish Vashti, and we saw that when he wake up from his feast, that he suddenly remembered Vashti. He was angry with Haman, like we explained about the Megillat Esther, that he kept grudge. If they wouldn't say anything, they say, no, just leave her. They say that she embarrassed the king. He will hate him. So Hazal says something very important here, that from that it says le'emor, you should get a permission. You go into someone's house for Shabbos. Everyone said Dvar Torah. If the owner of the house didn't ask you to say anything, zip it, keep stum. Don't say anything. You don't have to say. But if he asks you to say, then you can say something. But to jump just like this and to say, listen, I need to say Dvar Torah, I have something to say, that's called a diot. A diot is not full box, when the box is rattled, not full box of chocolate, So that's what it's come to tell you. A diot is not something so clever. So say Hazal, from here, you learn Vayikra el Moshe, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe me'ohel moed. It's come to teach you something very important. It's come to teach you that here HaKadosh Baruch Hu, number one, said to Moshe Rabbeinu, teach them the law. Vayikra, Vav HaChibur, and then Vayikar, that we said the Aleph to be humble. Le'emor, don't be so arrogant and jump and say everything Divrei Torah. Only if the owner of the house or the Rebbe of the shul asks you to speak. Other than that, sit in your place and don't worry. Everyone will know that you Talmid Chacham when it's come the time. Don't jump to show that you Talmid Chacham. And the same with anything else in life. So it's come to teach you. Hazal here teaching us that when a person jump and start talking and become very hasty, it's usually come with poranut, like happened to Haman HaRasha. We'll speak about it later on in the parsha. Let's go to verse 2, and it says, Daber el bnei Israel, ve'amarta, there's a lot of things, ve'amarta alehem, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban la'Adonai, min ha'behema, umin ha'bakar, umin ha'tzon, takrivu et korbanchem. Bechavod.
Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man among you brings an offering to Hashem from animals, from the cattle, or from the flock, shall you bring your offering?
Okay. There is here two questions that we have to ask ourselves. First of all, it says, Daber ve'amarta, Daber el bnei Israel, and you should tell them. Why did he repeat Daber ve'amarta? Question number one. Question number two, let's tell you, number one, from the animal, then min ha-bakar, bakar, you can call it the flock, the whatever I don't know how to say it, and then it's called it min hatzon. You see that he mentioned 3 times the animals. Why dafka 3 times? We have to understand. I don't know how you say it in English, just help me, Jeffrey, from the animal, from the
flock. Sorry?
Yeah, the animal, the flock, and the sheep.
Yeah, the flock of the sheep.
Yeah, why 3 times? If you say the flock, it is the sheep. If you say the animal, it is the sheep. What's the difference? Why did he repeat it 3 times? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. So there's 2 questions. Why repeat daber ve'amarta? And 3 times the flock, the animal, the sheep. What? So I saw a beautiful commentary that the Mefarshim say. The Mefarshim say that here, and actually that's commentary that I'm going to bring. It's the commentary of Rabbeinu Behaye. Rabbeinu Behaye, Ben Asher, he born around 768 years ago, plus minus. He born in a city of Saragossa in Spain. And he said, wherever the word daber mentioned, it's to speak in general. Ve'amarta, the word ve'amarta, it's more to be more private, more specific about it, specific to be. He said that he said, daber, it's in general. Speak to the children of Israel, speak to them in general. And then ve'amarta, be more specific about it. What it means to be more specific about it? Say, Rabbeinu Behaye, like this. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell Moshe Rabbeinu, when you come in to teach the children of Israel the halachot of the korban, the law of the korbanot, the law of the what you have to bring, which korban is korban hatat, korban nedava, all different korbanot that you have to be ve'amarta. What it means ve'amarta? To be more specific about it. That means that you have to explain to them that when a person bring korban, you have to make sure, besides that the korban have to be kosher animal, you have to make sure that it's not trefa. Trefa, that means it can be a kosher animal. But that animal, because it's taref, you can't sacrifice it on the altar. Why? How a korban can be trefa? Trefa, Hazal explained to us that it's an animal that have 1 year to live. So how do you know? So you bring it to the Kohen have to check. If before he looked at it, he looked at the outside, does she have something wrong with the animal? Or trefa can be also something that not necessarily will die in the same year, but maybe the leg is broken, maybe the tail is broken, whatever the case is. You can't sacrifice it on a mizbeach. So say Rabbeinu Behaye, by that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, daber ve'amarta, speak to them in general. First, explain to them all the kosher animal that they have to bring. After that, also you have to be very specific to make sure that you explain to them the law of the Torah. That means when you teach them, when you teach halacha, it's not enough to say mutar ve'asur, asur ve'mutar. Why is it not allowed? Why is it forbidden to do certain things? That's what you must explain. So when you're learning Torah, you have to teach, number one, speak in general. Speak the pshat, explain. But then try also to be the amarta, to be more specific in as depths that you can to explain the children of Israel all the halachot. That's about the ber ve'amarta. The second question that we ask, what did it say, habehema, or habakar, or minatzon? Should say from the flock and finish one time. Chazal come and tell us that here the Torah tried to teach us something very important. You have the behema. Behema is the animal. Why the animal? The Torah come to teach us that people have to behave not like an animal. When you eat properly. So that's one kind of people that sometimes behave like an animal. The Torah doesn't like it. Then come a little bit better, and that's from the bakar. Okay? From the bakar, those people, maybe they don't behave like an animal, but they do it all behind. No, also. And minatzon, that you always have to think that you should be from the flock. the top, the elita, what we call. That means always try to be the best, not to behave like animals that everyone see. There's those that doesn't behave like animal in public, but at home, they're also kind of a wild beast. So he says, don't behave wild beasts outside, don't behave like wild beasts inside the house. You should behave like a Jewish person. In your house, exterior, you all the time have to be the same, not different. So that's what about verse 2. Let's move on to what is it say here about the word that it say Adam. The word Adam. What is Adam? Adam is a human being. But Hazal tell us something very important. Hazal tell us that the word Adam, there is a secret on the letters Adam. The acronym of Adam is Aleph, Daled, Mem. What is Aleph, Daled, Mem? Have to tell us. That's the question of the Mefarshim. And by Bezrat Hashem, that's what I'm going to try to be.
There are many different types of traders.
Hello? Oh, I can't hear. There's a lot of noise. Sorry. Let me just mute quick. Let me just mute. There's a lot of noise in the background. I'm just going to mute. Okay, that's it. I mute everyone, so there's no mute. I don't know what was that noise. What does mean Adam? So we have to understand, Hazal tell us, and I saw a beautiful commentary of Rabbi David ben Khalifa. Rabbi David ben Khalifa, he born in a country that's called Algeria. Algeria is the north of Africa. He born around 117 years ago. And he said, take the word Adam, Aleph, Daled, Mem. Here the Torah hinting to us about the most humble people that was in the history of the Jewish people. And who they are? Aleph is Avraham Avinu. Daled, David HaMelech. Mem, Moshe Rabbeinu. Va'ish Moshe Anav Ma'od. Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble man on earth. Come Rabbi David Khalifa and explain like this. Here the Torah tells us that when a person, Adam, and a person, and he come to bring a sacrifice to Hashem in this verse, he said, a person that is very humble, it's more than a normal human being. Why? He said, when a person bring an offering to Bet HaMikdash, okay, there's a big difference between each one that bring. That means when a person bring an offering and is humble, Hazal tell us in the Gemara in Masechet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's a very good question. Masechet, I think Masechet Sota. I'm not sure. Masechet Sota? No. Masechet Chulin, because Masechet Chulin speak about the Karbanot. In Masechet Chulin, Hazal say that when a person bring a korban and is humble, it's considered like he bring all the korbanot, all the sacrifices. That means he brought one sacrifice, but it's considered for him like he brought all the korbanot. That means all the atonement come to a person that is humble. Because the job of the korban is to connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to make us humble and to understand that we sin. And by that we bring in the korban, we're saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're sorry, we're doing the vidui and finish. But he said, when a humble person bring a korban, Hazal and a Gemara Masechet Chulin, I don't remember where they're volley, say that he's considered like he brought all the korbanot. So what you learning from it? Hazal say Rabbi David ben Khalifa, he said like this, that you're learning from here that the Torah hinting to us was number one, 3 humble people in the Jewish history, only 3. You have to remember, only 3. But a person that is humble, even if you bring one korban, HaKadosh Baruch Hu consider it like he brought all the korbanot. So what does it come to teach us? What's the message here? The message here is when we bring a korban, we have to understand that the korban that we bring, it's not just to bring a korban, because the korban come to connect us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be humble. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need the korbanot. You bring into korbanot to your own benefit. That's when Bet HaMikdash was exist. Today that we don't have Bet HaMikdash, how do we do that? Chazal tell us, Uneshalma parim sefatenu. What it means, Uneshalma parim sefatenu? Chazal explain, when you're reading Parashat HaKorbanot in the morning, and you're reading it word by word with focusing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu consider it like you sacrifice all of this korbanot. And that's what doing atonement to a person. And many people in the morning just skip over Parashat HaKorbanot. Parashat HaKorbanot come to connect us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to do atonement to all our sin. That means the Parashat HaKorbanot is the green card for us to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And many people in the morning, because they're in a rush, whatever the case is, I don't want to say lazy, they skip about it. Why? Haval, mamash haval, mamash. Take another 10 minutes, sorry, and it's connect. You get a bond with the Almighty. That's Parashat HaKorbanot. Let's move on to verse 5. And here the Torah tells us, here's it. V'shahat et ben הבקר, לפני אדוני והקריבו בני אהרון הכהנים את דמו וזרקו את הדם על המזבח סביב אשר פתח אוהל מועד.
He shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. The sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, shall bring the blood and throw the blood on the altar all around, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting.
Okay, from this verse, Rabotai, there's a beautiful midrash that I'm going to bring on Shabbos at the Sheol at Yeshiva College. I'm going to bring the Zera Shimshon there to understand what halacha we're learning from here, and why is the Kohanim have to sprinkle the blood. So to make it easier for you, from here we're learning one halacha. Chazal tell us we're learning from here in the Midrash. Chazal say that to shech the korban, Chazal say, ve'azar mutar b'shchita. What it means, azar mutar b'shchita? If there is no Kohen to shech, even a normal person can shech. But after they shech the korban, to take the blood and to throw it on a mizbeach, that's only Kohanim can do. But to shech the korban, when you bring it to Bet HaMikdash, every person that knows the law of shchita and is a shohet can shech the korban. There's no problem with that. From here, Chazal learned that the Midrash said. On Shabbos, I'm going to bring a beautiful story and explain the secret behind it. But today, I want to bring a different idea. And tonight, I want to bring a different interpretation. The Torah tells us that after you shech the korban, you should take the blood and you should put it on the altar, around the altar, all around. Come the Mefarshim and say something very important, that you know that it's not only just the blood, it's also the fat. There is what we call helev. Helev is a fat that we're not allowed to eat. The Torah tells us that helev and blood, adam ve'helev lo tuchelu. That means there is certain fat on the korban that you're not allowed to eat, and the blood, you have to put it burn it on an altar. We have to understand what is the secret behind the helev and behind the blood. Why that dafka these two, the Torah tell us from every korban, Rabotai, that's in every korban. You have to understand. We cannot benefit from the helev you have to put it on to burn it. And number two, the blood, the dam. Why dafka these two, the helev and the dam? So first of all, let's explain the character trait that hiding behind each one of them. The helev is the fat. Hazal said the fat come to symbol the people that, not necessarily people, but it's the character trait of laziness, okay? And people that heavy, until they do things, they do it so slow and heavy. That's the helev represent. Helev, which means fat, make a person slow. Dam, that's the blood, come to show the hastiness of a person, the fastness of a human being, what we call it agility. Okay, when a person is all the time on the move. Okay, Hazal say that these two character traits, that's when people do averot usually. When a person very slow and when a person very hasty. And that's what the Rambam, the great eagle, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon say, that always walk b'derech hamelech, in the middle way. Don't be too extreme to the left, don't be too extreme to the right. One way at a time, one way at a time. That means always on the middle way, always on the middle way. Except when it's come to anava, that there you have to be extreme right. All the time to be right. Said the Mefarshim like this. The Mefarshim say, what's so bad about the person that he's doing things slow, but he's doing things? So I'll explain to you, said the Mefarshim. The Mefarshim saying that when a person comes to go to shul, he mustn't be too lazy to go to shul, to walk too slow. It's time to go and daven. It's time to do mitzvot. It's time to learn Torah. Do it. But from the other way, when a person is all the time hastiness, doing everything in speed, agility, it's because the blood flowing in his body. That's going to make a person to get cross. And Hazal tell us, kol hakohes, a person that gets angry, ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. A person that gets cross, he forget all of the Torah that he learned. Not only that, what causes a person to get cross? Arrogancy. Why are you getting upset? Because he know better. Or he thinks that he's better than the other one. That's why he gets cross. Hazal tell you something very important. The Torah given us two character traits. What are they? So the Torah tell us two things you're not allowed to eat. You have to burn it in where? An altar. And they have two character traits. The blood that show fastness, okay, hastiness. Wow. The helev, the fat, show laziness, slowness. He said these two that usually cause a person to sin. So by that, when you're bringing a korban, you want to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want to bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah tell you these two things, that it's the blood and the helev, take them, put them where? On an altar. Let them get burned. Leave them. That's not for you. That's mean the Torah come to teach us, burn the laziness that you have in yourself. When it's come to Avodat HaKodesh. From the other way, burn from yourself, get rid of that hastiness, that every little thing make you cross. You become very aggressive. No, that's what the character trait that you should get rid of. Laziness, okay? And being what we call quick to be cross, aggressive. Those what Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want. He wants you to take them, and when you bring the korban, leave them where? In a mizbeach. Why leave them in an altar? Because that's what causes you to sin. That's the reason that you bring in korban now. The only reason that you bring a korban, except korbanot nedava, okay, thanksgiving sacrifices that you want to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you. But all the other korban, why are you bringing them? Because you want to do atonement. to your sin. And that korban bring you closer. The Torah come and teach us those two things, the blood and the helev, that's the fat. If you burn them on a mizbeach, that means to teach us to burn these two things. Number one, arrogancy, and number two, the laziness. Okay, now we understand why does it say about the helev and the dam. Let's go to chapter 2, verse 1. Chapter 2, verse 1. And look what it says here. Here we speak about korban nedava, what we call korban nedava. And look what it says. Vehanefesh, ki takriv korban mincha laAdonai, solet yeh korbano, veyatzak alea shemen, venatan alea levona.
When a person offers a meal offering to Hashem, his offering shall be of fine flour. He shall pour oil upon it and place frankincense upon it.
Okay. So what is it speaking here? Here we're speaking about korban, that korban mincha nedava. What is nedava? Korban mincha nedava, it's usually the poor people that bring. The poor people bring what they call it solet. Solet is a fine flour, okay? It costs very little. It doesn't cost like an animal, okay, or like a flock, or like a sheep. It costs very small money. And that you bring in korban mincha. Come Rashi HaKadosh, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki born in the city of Troyes in the north of France. He born 983 years ago. And in his commentary, he says something very interesting. And we have to understand what Rashi said. I explained many times, Rashi speaks in codes. To understand Rashi, you have to understand the secret behind it. Look what Rashi said. I'm going to explain it. Lo ne'emar, that means it's never mentioned. Nefesh, the word nefesh. Nefesh is a soul. Bechol hakorbanot handava ela bemincha. What does it mean? Rashi says us from all the korbanot nedava. When a person want to thank Hakadosh Baruch Hu for what he had, if something happened with him, if he was sick and he become right, okay, or has Shalom had something wrong with him, he have an accident, and he said, "Well, we want to say korban nedava." Korban nedava to say thank you to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. That's the korban. Say Rashi HaKadosh, and all of those kind of sacrifice, only on one korban of that sacrifice, we say nefesh. Which nefesh is korban mincha? What is korban mincha? Hazal say korban mincha laAdonai solet. The flour, fine flour. Yeh korbanot. Why Rashi HaKadosh come and say, why dafka on this korban that call korban mincha, the thanks offering korban, why dafka that HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls soul? On all the other korbanot, the thanksgiving korbanot, no, doesn't say nefesh. Adam ki yakriv. Here it says v'nefesh ki yakriv. And the soul should sacrifice. I explain again that many times the translation, the interpretation of Hebrew to English, it's not exactly word by word, because nefesh means soul. Ve'nefesh. Ask Rashi, why dafka in this korban that called korban mincha, that's korban nedava, that's offering korban, it said ve'nefesh, dafka in mincha. So the Mefarshim explain something very beautiful. The Mefarshim say that if you look korban nedava, that's korban of nedava, that is the korban that only a person that's poor bringing it. What does he bring? Like we explained, he bring fine flour, so very, very fine soft flour. He said for him, for a poor person, to bring that the little bit that he have, and he take from the little bit that he have, and he have to bring it as a korban. That means he's sacrificing his own soul. From the little bit that he had, and he take him from that, That's sacrificing his soul. Said the Mefarshim, from here you learn something extraordinary. That when a poor person brings a sacrifice, he sacrifices his own soul. His own soul is sacrificing by bringing that Korban Minha. That's Rashi HaKadosh. I saw a beautiful commentary on that brought by Sefer Doresh Tzion. Sefer Doresh Tzion been written by Rav Ben Zion Mutzafi, Shalita. Rav Ben Zion Mutzafi, he born in Jerusalem. He's around close to 80 today. Not a bit less, yeah, close to 80. And he said, in his book, he brought a beautiful commentary. And he said something extraordinary. Rabotai, listen to it. Because if you look at all of this shiur, I'm speaking about modesty and humbleness. Say the Mefarshim like this, and he said like this. You know what's the difference between a sacrifice of a rich person? When someone bring a korban, that when he's rich and he bring an animal, and a korban of a poor person. Hazal, he said like this. Hazal tell us, when a rich person bring a korban, it's not enough to bring the korban. What does he have to do? He have to put both of his hands on the head of the korban, on the head of the animal, the hand of the depends what korban is it. You have to put the hand on top of the animal. And only then, after he put his hand, he have to do vidui. Okay? To say, hatati, aviti, pashati, I sin with that, to ask for forgiveness. Hazal tell us something extraordinary. Rabotai, when a poor person brings the sacrifice of minha, that's korbana minha, okay? Korban nedavan minha, Hazal said that he doesn't have to put his hand on top of the korban. Why? Because anyway, there's no animal there that they're going to sacrifice, number one. But more important, because he sacrificed himself from his own self, from the little bit that he had, he's bringing the korban. That's like doing atonement. Why? The Mefarshim explain, you know why the poor person doesn't have? Because he all the time in a dilemma. What the dilemma that he had? He said, what did I done wrong that I'm poor? What did I done wrong that HaKadosh Baruch Hu punish him to be poor? So he all the time asking himself, and he all the time is in tshuva, why did he be punished like this? Say Rabbi Ben Zion Mutzafi, said from here you learn that what Hazal tell us, that the korban of the poor person, he doesn't have to do vidui, because all of his life he's doing vidui. Beautiful Hidush, as far as I'm concerned. I would like to move on to chapter 4 in verse 22, Rabotai. And here we see something very, very interesting that I saw that brought by the Mefarshim. Let me just find it quick. Okay, I'm there. Yeah. And look what it says here. It says like this. ושמח ידו על ראש השעיר ושחט אותו במקום אשר ישחט את העולה לפני אדוני חטאת הוא.
When?
Oh, sorry, I read the wrong verse. 22.
Yeah.
Sorry, I read 24. Sorry, my
Yeah.
mistake. Sorry, I read the wrong one. אשר נשיא יחטא ועשה אחת מכל מצוות אדוני אלוהיו, אשר לא תעשנה בשגגה ואשם. Sorry, my mistake. Sorry, Jeffrey. בכבוד, 22.
When a ruler sins and commits one from among all the commandments of Hashem, his God, that may not be done unintentionally and becomes guilty.
Okay. If you look here, it doesn't say if a ruler will sin. Asher nasi yachta. That means if you look at the Hebrew, it's completely different to the English translation. And if you look quite often, I repeat after our friend Jeffrey and try to translate it like the Hebrew translation. And look what it said. Asher nasihta. When a ruler, it's not the right word, not when. A ruler will sin. Asher. Asher, the ruler will sin. Come,
Yes.
many of them Mefarshim and say, how come Adam ki yehta, when it's come to a sacrifice, a normal human being, Adam ki yehta. Here it doesn't say ki yehta, asher yehta. What it means asher yehta? Not if. No. He will sin. A ruler will sin, but the ordinary person, Adam ki yehta, if. Who put us on that specific thing? Maran Bet Yosef. Maran Bet Yosef is Rabbi Yosef Karo. Rabbi Yosef Karo, born in the city of Toledo, in Spain. He born around 535 years ago. He wrote the famous Shulchan Aruch that we have. That's him. That's Maran Bet Yosef. They call him Bet Yosef. And he said, I don't understand. I have a question here. When it's come to ordinary person, Adam ki yehta, a person, he might gonna sin. Asher nasi yehta, when it's come to a ruler, someone that have a lot of authority, let's call him, it's asher yehta, he will definitely sin. How? What's the difference? What's the difference? So said the Maran Bet Yosef, something very important. And I saw it also, by the way, I saw it in the Zohar. I think that in the Zohar, if I'm not mistaken, let me just see where I saw it, 1 second. The Zohar is in Parashat Vayikra, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's in our Parsha. I think it's page 20, folio 1. I'm not focused on it. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. The Zohar also saying it. And they both say the same idea, the Zohar and Maran Bet Yosef, because the Zohar came 2,500 years ago. That's the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Say the Zohar and Maran Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo. He said, you know why it says on an ordinary person, Adam ki yehta? Because when it's come to average human being, there's no guarantee that he will sin. There's no guarantee. But it said when it's come to a ruler, he will sin. You know why the Torah tell us that? It's come to tell us because an ordinary person, it's not necessary that he have full of gava, full of proud arrogance. But when it's come, listen to that, when it's come to a ruler, a person that have authority, he'll definitely will sin. Why? Because people that have authority, they usually have a lot of proud, they have a lot of arrogance, they think that they done everything. And we'll get to it, that they think that they done anything, everything. I'll get to it. What does it mean? So said the Maran Bet Yosef and the Zohar something extraordinary. The Torah here tell you that the person that he's a ruler, the person that have authority to do certain things, the Torah tell you that he will sin. Asher nasi yehta. But Adam ki yehta or nefesh ki tehta, it's ordinary people. There's no guarantee that they will sin. There's a lot of people that they're humble, the nefesh, we say that it's a poor person. A poor person is not necessary that he will sin. Why? Because he's very humble. He says, I have nothing. He understands his position in life. Said the Mefarshim, from here you learn something extraordinary. When a person is a ruler, a person that have authority, you have to understand that he's arrogant and he will sin. So what do we learn from here? That people that usually arrogant, people that usually have a lot of authority, they have to sin. Why? Because they think that they know everything better. Come Rabbeinu Neta Mikelem. Rabbi Neta Mikelem, Rabotai, he born in a city of Kelem in Poland. He born around 211 years ago, plus minus. He said, I'll tell you something. Take the first 3 words that verse start. Asher Nasi Yehta. Take the acronym of every letter. Asher is Aleph. Nasi is Nun. Yehta is Yud. What word you getting? Ani.
Ani.
Me. You know who built that business? You see that building? You see that empire? Me. I don't know if you remember our friend, our late friend, Joe Brook. I'm missing him so much. I'm sure all of you missing him, Joe Brook. He used to say the eye doctor. What it mean, the eye doctor? People that always say, I done it. I did that. You see that building? I gone and I collect money. You know, I. Say, Rabbi Neta Mikelem. He said, look what it starts. The acronym of the pasuk already tell you about the arrogancy of a person. Asher Nasi Yehta. The acronym is Ani. When a person said to you, I done it. I built it. I done everything. You know, I have the authority. You don't have to ask. I'm giving you the authority. You know that he's already arrogant. Say Hazal, from here you learn that the Torah come and tell you at the beginning of Sefer Vayikra how much a person should work on his character trait. How important is it that we understand who we are, that we're only a human being? To understand, number one, that without the energy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're nothing. But more important, that even if you're smart, like the Ramban said, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, when he wrote the letter to his son, that even if you're smart, even if you're rich, you have to respect everyone. Why? Because that you're rich and your friend is poor, you're going to be judged for it. That you're smart and he's not so smart, is not a scholar person, you're going to be judged for it if you've done a sin. How much the Parashat Karbanot come to teach us right at the beginning of the Sefer of the Karbanot, okay, Torat Kohanim, to teach us why it's so important to be humble. Why is it? Because a person that is humble, a person that have a lot of humility, would not easily will sin, like Hazal say. A person that have Yirat Shamayim, the fear of heaven, he can't be arrogant. And Hazal tell us that from all the character traits that there is in the world, listen to that, Rabotai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one character trait that he hate. It's arrogancy, proud and arrogancy. What are you proud about? What are you so arrogant about? And Hazal tell us in the Midrash that Ahav was a king, Melech Yehuda. And he was a king in Israel. And he was idol worshiping. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu come and said to him, listen, you started a very righteous king. Then you become a wicked, you start to worship idols. He said to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu come to that king and said to Ahav, listen, change your character trait. Work on your thing and now stop worshiping idols. He said, no problem. He said, what do you have to do? He said, if you're going to not worship idols, We're going to walk in Gan Eden, you and me and Ben David. Mahav said, Ben David, David HaMelech? Say, yeah. He said, who's going to go on the front? Who's going to be the leader? Listen to the stupid question. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, I understand where you're going. David HaMelech going to be in head. He is going to be the leader. He said, in that case, I'm going to continue worshiping idols. Chazal say, why is that? Because he wanted kavod. When people doesn't get their kavod, like sometime you touch the bank account. The bank account is nothing. Touch my bank account, just give me kavod. People say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hate arrogancy. And if you look, all of that shiur that tonight I focus about humbleness and humility. And I think that Be'ezrat Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please God, will help us and guard us not to be cross, not to be arrogant, not to lose our temper just like that, and to run away from respect and to look for yichus. And Be'ezrat Hashem, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send us Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon. If you have any question, I will try to answer now regarding the Parsha. Bechavod, those of you
Hello,
that have questions,
how are you?
unmute.
It's Anthony, how are you?
Erev Tov, Antonio, how are you?
Right, thanks.
Yes,
Is it
Bechavod.
only the Kohanim that bring sacrifices? And why only the Kohanim? Why is it only the Kohanim? Is it in the Torah? Is it no one else? Is it no one else who brings sacrifices?
What? I'm confused. Just explain to me. Say again, the Kohanim bring sacrifices? Is that what you said?
Only the Kohanim, yes. Why is it only the Kohanim?
No. Sorry, Antonio, maybe I didn't explain myself. No, the Kohanim doesn't bring the sacrifices. A person that want to say these few different korbanot, this korban hatat. Let's start with korban hatat. Korban hatat, when a person done a sin by mistake, he have to bring a sin korban hatat. What does he do? He take the korban, he take it to Bet HaMikdash, okay, and Bet HaMikdash, okay, ba'azara, okay, in a hole, they shecht it. We explained that the shechting can be done by every other person. It doesn't have to be a Kohen.
Doesn't
The
have to be a
Kohen,
Kohen.
they're the one that have to sacrifice it where? On a mizbeach. That's a normal individual can't do that. That means not Israel and not Levim, only Kohanim. Okay?
Is that because it's written in the Torah? Because that's specified in the Torah.
For sure, only that. But the korbanot, every person can bring, because the job of the korbanot is to do peace between us and the Almighty. If a person sin, if a person want to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever the case is, if a person have bad thought, he bring korban olah. Okay, so a person that done any kind of sin, he bring the korban. That's every human being. It can be Israel, it can be Kohen, it can be Levy, anyone. They can bring the sacrifices. Who shechted? Ve'ashchita kshera bazar, Chazal say. Okay, that every person that know the law of shchita and he learn it and he's a shochet, he can shecht it bazara. But to sacrifice it, to take the korban, to take the blood, to take the helev, to cut it, that you leave to him. Why? Because they know which portion to give to who, which portion to put on a mizbeach, what you're allowed to use, and what you're not allowed to eat. That's the job of the Kohen. Beseder? I hope I explained myself.
Okay, so that one particular thing is for the Kohen alone. Everything else is for everyone, but that one particular thing, the Kohen is only the Kohen does.
No, the Kohen, after they shech the korban, after they're slaughtering it, he can take it and he can put it, okay? He cut it to pieces. Certain part get burned, certain part after that been given to the Kohen, certain part been given to the Levy, and certain part been given to who? To the owner of the Korban. You understand what I'm saying? Only
Okay.
2 things we're not allowed to eat from it. What is it? It's the halev and the dam. Halev is the fat. There's certain part of the fat that we're not allowed to eat in the animal. Not all the fat, is only certain that called halev. And then there's the blood. ואת הדם לא תאכלו, כי הדם הוא נפש האדם, the Torah tells us. Because the blood is the soul of a human being. בסדר?
Okay. Thanks very much.
Pleasure, pleasure. Any other question, Rabotai, regarding the
Yeah.
Karbanot?
It's Frank. It's Frank. How are you, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem, Frank, how are you? It's good to see you. It's good to hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah. I want to ask you something. You said in the letter Vayikra there was a small aleph, correct? And
Yes.
Moshe only used half the blood, correct?
Half the
I
ink,
mean
half the ink.
It's half the ink. I mean half the ink. What
Half
happened
the ink
to
of the letters Aleph. Half of
Yes.
the ink
What-
of the letters Aleph. What happened to it? That's what you're asking.
What happened to what happened to the other half? I mean, it must have been used somewhere else.
Okay. Oh. Very good question. What did we learn in the Torah? And the face of Moshe, okay, they become so light. Say Hazal in the Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took that ink that left and he smudged it over the face of Moshe. And then what happened? Moshe had to have a vow. When
Oh,
people
yeah.
come to Moshe, they couldn't speak to him. They have to have a vow in the front of him. Why? Because that's holiness of the ink. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the ink that he wrote the Torah. Where he put it? On the face of Moshe. He said, you're so humble. I'll make sure no one can look at you from your holiness. Beseder, Frank?
Thank you,
Shkoach for
Rabbi.
the beautiful Shaila. Beautiful. Shkoach. Any other question? Bechavod, Rabotai.
Yes. Excuse me.
Jeffrey.
Yes, Rob. I have a
Thank you.
Rob. It's very. It's actually very moving when Hashem acknowledges that a poor person that brings the mincha offering, the korban mincha, is sacrificing his soul. I mean, it's very sobering. It's so when we daven every day the mincha, is there a connection that all people come along because it's a connection with the poor people and with all the. It's not only poor in money, but poor in learning, poor in everything. That everybody's treated. We should think of themselves as poor when we're davening mincha, because it resonates. It affects the soul. It affects you because you're davening, acknowledging that you are lacking.
But I want to tell you why that mincha. The poor that the Torah speak about is those poor people that have only enough money, lo alenu, just for one day. That means they're going to work in the morning. They earn whatever they earn, the little money. And they took the money that they have, instead of buying more food for his family, for himself, for his wife, he decided to take a half. I'll put aside for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the other half, me and my family, they're going to use it. Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you sacrifice yourself. Why dafka mincha? Because in the morning he didn't have nothing. So he gone to work. He got whatever he got. But that money he took from his family and from his own stomach. And by the way, that's a different hidush I'm going to tell you now. Why dafka the halef, the fat have to go? The Torah tells us, Adam v'Adam hu hanefesh. You're not allowed to eat, lo tuchlu dam. Okay, tuchlu is to eat the dam. Why it said to eat and not to drink? Because blood fulfilling. Okay, it can sustain the human being. If you eat it, okay, it sustains you. Say Hazal, the Torah tells us, ki Adam hu hanefesh. But why not helev? The fat. What's so wrong with eating certain fat of the animal? Usually that fat sits next to under the animal, close to by the stomach towards the back. Beseder. Hazal say, why dafka helev? Why dafka that fat? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell us that all of that fat, all the helev, burn it on a mizbeach. We're not allowed to eat it. Rabotai, listen to that Hidush. Said the Mefarshim, and that's brought more by the Chachmei Asod, the mystical rabbi. And they say that when a person have to bring this kind of a korban, it's his own fat, like his own neshama, the own fat from his own body, he putting on a mizbeach. He burning it on a mizbeach. Kadosh say, Kadosh Baruch Hu say, sorry. Say Kadosh Baruch Hu, you bring in your soul, v'nefesh ki takriv, your own soul you brought. That's mean from your own soul, from your own food you brought. That's no one can eat it. Therefore, so what is it teach us? It's how you bring the korban. It's the kavanah. A rich person can bring 100 cows. For him, well, what is it, 100 cows? But when it comes, listen, that a poor person, that only after a full hard day of work, he come to Bet HaMikdash. He is already exhausted. And he take a half of that money, instead of giving to his family and his wife and himself, he said, no, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for giving me what you've given me. Hey, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in that moment, there is nothing to elevate the Almighty more than that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, therefore, all the halef, all the fat that you avoid from yourself to have, that's going to go to the korban and going to be burnt on a mizbeach. Do you follow, Jeffrey?
Yes, yes.
You understand?
It is actually what you're saying then is that he's taking from his own kishkas. He's taking from everything that he's got in his body,
100%.
and he's giving it to him with bitachon, with trust.
Nachon. Nachon.
Okay.
It's beyond understanding.
Yeah. Oof.
So today that we don't have korban, Rabota, and that's what I say at the beginning of the parsha, at the beginning of the show. How important is it if you give 15 minutes before you start davening, even at home, before you're running shul, say the korbanot. Hazal say, uneshalma parim sefatenu. What it mean, uneshalma parim sefatenu? Today that we don't have Bet HaMikdash. How is a person sacrifice? How does he get bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? By that you're saying the korbanot. If you read the korbanot every morning, beside that it's doing atonement to a person's sin, because you say all the korbanot, so it's doing atonement for everything. Korban shgaga, by mistake. Korban nedava, okay? Korban, all the korbanot you do. And that's what you say there, Hasham Talui, Hasham Vadai, all different korbanot. What is it doing, Rabotai? It's like you sacrificing. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's nothing more that he love or have his love than the sacrifice. The most korban that he have and he love is the spices. Remember that we mentioned about it.
Yes, that's what I was going to mention.
There's nothing like the spices. So Rabotai, you want to do benefit for yourself. 10, 15 minutes every morning. say the Karbanot before you start everything, before Baruch She'amar, and you'll see a beautiful day. There's nothing better than that. And that's our job.
Shkoyach. Oh, very deep. Beautiful.
Okay. I hope that you enjoyed the show, Rabotai. I know that it's over time. Usually we try to stick to an hour. I know that it's exactly an hour and 15 minutes. But I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope that you benefit from it. I just want to repeat again, Rabotai, live show on Shabbos, an hour before Mincha at Yeshiva College. And there we take the Parsha in much more depth, Be'ezrat Hashem. I hope to see you on Shabbos, an hour before Mincha in a big shul. Be'ezrat Hashem, hope to see you all there. We'll hear a different new Hidushim about the Parsha in more depth, in more, what we call it, more on the bones, Be'ezrat Hashem. In the meantime, I would like to wish all of you have, first of all, Shabbat Shalom, that you all should have a beautiful Shabbos. To all of you, Shabbat Shalom, umevorechet, and enjoy the weekend. Look after yourself. All the best. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us.